This webinar presents stocking requirements for stores in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. We will review the 4 staple food categories, the expanded list of accessory foods, the definitions of heated and prepared foods, and eligibility Criterion B and Criterion A. Information presented in this webinar is effective on and after January 17, 2018 for all authorized stores and applicant stores. Let's begin with staple foods. No changes have been made to the 4 staple food categories themselves. Staple foods are categorized as meat, poultry, or fish, dairy products, vegetables or fruits, and bread or cereals. It's important to note that accessory foods, heated foods, and prepared foods are not considered staple foods. We'll start by reviewing each of these groups. One consideration when determining whether a store stocks the required inventory is the list of accessory foods. Accessory foods include snack and dessert food items and food items that complement or supplement meals. Examples of snack and dessert food items include, but are not limited to, all types of chips, crisps, and crackers, donuts, cupcakes, and cookies, candy, and ice cream and frozen yogurt. Each of the items listed here is considered an accessory food. Examples of food items that complement or supplement meals include, but are not limited to, spices and seasonings, oils, shortening, and lard except butter, natural and artificial sweeteners, and ketchup, mayonnaise, and all other condiments. Each of the items listed here is also considered an accessory food. Remember, accessory foods are not counted toward a store's eligibility regarding stocking requirements, but can still be purchased with SNAP benefits. Another consideration is prepared food. Hot or cold prepared foods not intended for home preparation and consumption, including foods consumed on the premises and foods sold for carryout, are prepared foods. Prepared foods are not considered staple foods. Examples of prepared foods include hot coffee and tea, sandwiches, hot soup, and hot dogs. The third consideration is heated foods. Foods that are cooked or heated on site by the retailer before or after purchase, regardless of whether cooking or heating is provided for free or at a cost, are heated foods. Heated foods are not considered staple foods. Examples of heated foods include meats that are fried and sold hot, or meats that are sold raw and then fried by the retailer on site, and pizza, which might be baked and sold hot, or sold cold and then baked by the retailer on site. As a reminder, hot foods can't be purchased with SNAP benefits. The definitions of staple food, accessory food, heated foods, and prepared foods are important considerations for a store's eligibility. In terms of stocking and sales, a store must meet one of 2 criteria, which are commonly known as Criterion B and Criterion A. To be eligible under Criterion B, a store must have more than 50% of total gross retail sales in staple food sales. To be eligible under Criterion A, a store must offer for sale at least 3 different varieties of food items in each of the 4 staple food categories and at least 1 perishable variety in 2 staple food categories. We'll look at each criterion separately. Under Criterion B, a store must have more than 50% of total gross retail sales in staple food sales. Accessory foods, prepared foods, and heated foods are not counted toward staple food sales. Other non-food items, such as alcohol, tobacco, lottery, and gas sales, aren't counted as staple food sales either. These items and other retail sales, along with staple foods, are part of a retailer's total gross retail sales. Under Criterion B, staple food sales must be more than 50% of a retailer's total gross retail sales. Criterion B normally applies to specialty stores such as fish markets, butcher shops, and farmers markets. Let's move to Criterion A. For the stocking requirements of Criterion A, there are three definitions for us to keep in mind. Staple food. Staple foods include products that are intended for home preparation and consumption in one of the four staple food categories. Varieties. Varieties are different kinds of products in each of the four staple food categories. And stocking unit. A stocking unit is a can, bunch, box, bag, or package that a product is usually sold in. Staple foods include many of the things that we would normally think about: a jug of milk, a package of chicken, a loaf of bread, oranges, and a sack of potatoes. These are some common staple food items. Varieties. Varieties are different kinds of products in each of the four staple food categories. Bananas, apples, and cantaloupe are three different varieties of staple food. But under the program stocking requirements, we would only count the apples because it is the only variety with three stocking units. A retailer would have to add a cantaloupe and a banana to have three stocking units of each of those varieties of staple food. That would give us three varieties, which meets the stocking requirements for the vegetables or fruits staple food category. This shows the importance of understanding what a stocking unit is. A can of corn, a bunch of celery, a bag of rice, a box of cereal. Each of these is one stocking unit of a staple food variety. When determining the number of varieties in a staple food category, there are a couple of considerations. First, similar food items are only counted as one variety. For example, whole milk and skim milk would constitute one type of staple food in dairy products. Ground beef and beef steak are still simply beef and therefore one type of meat. And Empire, Jonagold, and Macintosh are considered apples. A can of stewed tomatoes, a can of tomato paste, and 2 fresh tomatoes. How would these food items be counted? Although the tomatoes are packaged differently, these are still a similar food item: tomatoes. Here we see 4 stocking units of one variety of food in the vegetables or fruits staple food category. This would be true as long as the first enlisted ingredient of the stewed tomatoes and tomato paste is in fact tomatoes. That brings us to the next consideration. Products with multiple ingredients. Products with multiple ingredients, such as soups and cereals, are assigned to the staple food category of the first listed ingredient on the item's nutrition facts label, or classified as an accessory food. Here we see whole wheat flour, confirming that this item is one stocking unit in the bread or cereal staple food category. If the first listed ingredient is water, broth, or stock, then the second listed ingredient is considered. If, for example, we had a can of cream of celery soup, the product's ingredients list might list water as the first ingredient, as we see here. With celery as the second listed ingredient, this item is a stocking unit in the vegetables or fruits staple food category. Products with multiple ingredients show us the importance of reviewing the nutrition facts label. For example, one may think to classify a can of beef ravioli and tomato and meat sauce as either a meat, poultry, or fish product because the word beef is in the title, or a bread or cereals product because the word ravioli is also present. A closer look at the ingredients list reveals that this item has a main ingredient of tomatoes. This item would be classified as a stocking unit in the vegetables or fruits staple food category. Our final consideration is perishable varieties. Perishable products are either frozen staple food items or fresh, unrefrigerated, or refrigerated staple food items that will spoil or suffer significant deterioration in quality within 2 to 3 weeks. Under Criterion A, retailers must stock at least one perishable variety in at least 2 of the staple food categories. In review, under the stocking requirements, 3 stocking units of a staple food are needed to be counted as a variety of that staple food. To be eligible under Criterion A, a retailer must offer for sale and normally display at least 3 different varieties in each of the 4 staple food categories, including at least 1 perishable variety in 2 of the staple food categories. From a different perspective, the minimum inventory under Criterion A would be calculated as 3 stocking units for each of 3 qualifying varieties, or a total of 9 items per staple food category. 9 items per category multiplied by 4 categories results in a minimum of 36 staple food items needed to qualify under Criterion A, which must include a perishable variety in at least 2 categories. And remember, accessory foods, prepared foods, and heated foods are not considered staple foods. Thank you for your interest in SNAP and for reviewing the stocking requirements. If you have questions, you may find additional information at the website listed here or by emailing your questions to rpmdhq-web@fns.usda.gov.